The Earth Locker, chatting our way to being better Earthlings.
I think Chappelle.
I've decided Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
Sure,
let's
Dave
get
Chappelle.
him on the podcast. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Oh my God, yeah.
Dave, I know you'll be watching this at some point. If you play your cards right, you might just
You could be inside that shawl.
Guess, yeah. You could smell what it's like inside here, Dave Chappelle. Oh, it's very oniony. I'll tell you what I was looking at yesterday, lads. On the BBC website, speaking of the BBC, there was a sort of a reminder from the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, that the footage that they released, where there were guys in the US Air Force tracking UFOs, they just released a statement in the Pentagon to reiterate that footage is absolutely real. Right?
They sent one to reiterate that it's real.
Yeah, to validate it. So it came out in 2014, 2015. And it was
Now, I've not seen the footage yet. Can you describe the footage?
Oh, I wish we could show you, but it's like, so it's a black and white little screen, a little screen that you'd imagine could be on the dashboard of like a jet fighter, right? It's got little outlines, little framework outlines around the edge. So at one point, they're right above something, and something is flying along the surface of the ocean, right? And the guy's trying to track it with the software on the jet. He's going tick, 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 and he goes, got it! Woohoo! And then they start tracking it across the ocean. And it's this little circular thing that's going, and it's woof, it's flying across the ocean, right?
And how big is this circular thing?
Tiny little thing. Certainly on the screen. And then it cuts to this other thing, and it's like the silhouette of a UFO, close to the kind of typical shape. And it's the imagery, but it's also the reaction of the two US pilots. One's going to the other, going, "Oh my God, man! Look at that thing! Look at how it's moving! Wow!" You know, and they're completely, and they're up in the air following this thing, or this thing's following them. But it's just interesting to me that came out in 2015, and now 5 years later in 2020, the Pentagon have decided to like do a press release, it seems, that have been picked up by news outlets the world over, just to say, by the way, this did come from us, and we didn't doctor it or anything. So what does that tell you? Like, we were talking about like why governments do things or start to lead people.
That's my question. There is like why. Why have they said all of a sudden that for years they've kept it under wraps, and all of a sudden now they go, actually, yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah, that's real. Yeah,
and they're like, and the other part of it is like, it made me think, having watched that documentary Unacknowledged on Netflix, which talks about the whole UFO existence thing and how it's been covered up. But that talked about how the US government could really easily fake an alien invasion if they so desired, to kind of create, if you will, like perhaps an outer space Osama bin Laden. Do you know what I mean? With that kind of thinking.
Yeah, they could create that. Yeah,
unite the human race behind sort of an interstellar enemy. But it made me think that footage that the Pentagon have just re-released and validated is in itself fake. That's my theory, because they have created and gone, this is real, by the way, because this is the first stage of building up to either an alien conversation or some sort of alien invasion, basically, is my point.
Do you know who would know about UFOs?
Go on.
Someone who'd been a UFC fighter, maybe.
That's true.
UFO fighter. We want UFO fighter.
A UFO fighter. Let's have a look at that organization.
Tom, shall we bring him on and you do the introduction?
Yeah, let's bring him on.
Tell us who our guest is, Thomas. He's a UFO.
Mr. Robert McDonald, a.k.a. Bobby Maximus. It was indeed a UFC fighter. He's fought in the UFC. He was also on the TV show The Ultimate Fighter, if you ever watched that. But he started off as a cop in Toronto, Robert, where we spent many an evening seeing coppers. He's 6 foot. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He's like around my height, and he's built like a man mountain, right? And Bobby was a trainer at the infamous Jim Jones training academy, where it's a highly elite training facility where they've trained special forces, they've trained I don't know if you remember the movie 300. They trained the guys for 300. They trained Henry Cavill for Superman.
Wow.
And Bobby was a big part of all of this. And he's an incredible trainer. I've trained with Bobby.
He's on the screen now. He looks so
Bobby,
masculine and alpha.
So
that he's already intimidating me.
Without further ado, let's bring in the man mountain that is Bobby Maximus. How are you doing, buddy?
Woo! Welcome, Bobby Maximus.
He's on mute.
Oh, no.
We got to mute him. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Zoom has all kinds of precautions now, so people can't meeting crash. It's become
it is, yeah.
People,
how you doing, Bobby?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Excellent.
Yeah, we're doing good, man. Great to have you on.
Thanks, mate. You know.
So wait, you've not met Bobby when you were in Canada?
Never met Bobby. Bobby, tell us, when did you stop being a policeman mountain and become a fighting man mountain?
Oh, geez. I started being a cop in 2003, and I did it till 2008, at which point I resigned and then focused on fitness and branding and marketing full time.
Right. And that's what took you out of the police, was it? Or was there some moral rock in a hard place that you thought, I can't be a policeman anymore?
No moral rock in a hard place. But I did. I think police officers are really underappreciated for the work that you put in. If you're a good cop, because there are bad cops as well. Let me be very clear about that. If you're good at what you do, you miss Christmas, you miss Thanksgiving, you miss your kids' presentations at school. You grow up to a degree without your family. You're probably looking at 2 to 3 divorces.
Do you know what? My dad was a policeman for 31 years, and I think it did his marriage the power of good.
They never saw each other.
But yeah, it can be incredibly difficult. And I wanted something else.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to help people. So policing helps people. I've worked as a teacher that helps people, and then changing people's, lives through the power of exercise and wellness. That's another way I can help people. And I think it's a better balance for me.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, we want to talk about Bobby as well. There's various things we want to delve into for you, because you've had an amazing career in fitness and also in your fighting career as well. I mean, the thing is that I'm always amazed by the mentality of a fighter and what it takes to get inside that cage and like want to beat the hell out of another human. And the thing is, what's mad about it is you're such a nice dude. I think, how the hell do you do that?
So it's actually not much different than what you do.
Right.
And to explain that, I've got no problem being in front of 20,000 people doing a fight interview. I've got no problem if you and I, Tom, are alone at dinner being charismatic and funny and pretending. You put me on a stage in front of 30 people and expect me to act, I have a meltdown. I become self-conscious. I become nervous. Like, my nightmare would be in university. I did an honors English degree, and I actually studied Shakespeare and drama, Romantic period literature, Renaissance, the Restoration. If I was asked to act in a Shakespeare play, it would be a nightmare for me. But to somebody like you who has acted and done it and gotten used to it, it's your job. It's what you do. So fighting in a cage isn't special to me. It's just my job. I'm showing up to work.
Bobby, we should do a life swap. Right? I'll get in the cage. You get on the stage for a little bit, right? You know,
that would be good.
It'd be scary for me, but it wouldn't be on for very long.
Mate, I'd love to see you in the cage.
Put your jukes up. Go on then. Have at you.
You'd like slap him around the face with a glove and challenge.
You do the old school. What's the English term? You fight underhanded.
That's right.
Queens of Marcus
of Queensbury. Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, little side fact: the Marquis of Queensbury's son was a fellow called Lord Alfred Douglas, who was Oscar Wilde's lover, and then Marquis of Queensbury hated Oscar Wilde and hated the fact that his son was stooping Oscar Wilde, and he left a little note at the cloakroom for Oscar Wilde at a club that he frequented, and it just said, "For Oscar Wilde, gentleman sodomite." And because he'd written it down, he'd made a legal public allegation because the note had to go through somebody to get to Oscar. So then it basically resulted in Oscar suing the Marquis of Queensberry for defamation, fueled by Lord Alfred Douglas going, "Get him! I hate him! My father, he's the great oppressor." So he sued him for defamation, ended up perjuring himself loads in court, and then ended up in jail like 200 yards down the street from my place, which is where we're sat, doing hard labour for 2 years.
Prison, yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Pentonville and then Reading. Yeah. So the
Wow.
Marquis of Queensberry, he was quite a notorious fella.
Yeah, just like Bobby.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So when you, Bobby, one thing I want to touch on, I think we all want to touch on really, because it's a huge part of the Earth Locker, right? Is your journey from you're in Salt Lake, you're being an elite trainer, you're training all these people, being very successful at it. And I notice on Instagram that you have started to lose weight drastically. And then I'm thinking, is he cool? Is he okay? And then you came clean on your Instagram that you had been suffering with an illness. And the story to this is that you basically ended up taking control of it. Like you're taking control of every other aspect of your life. You managed to take control back of your own body that was actually deteriorating in a huge way, right?
Yeah. So at 41 years old, and some of my family's in the medical profession, I was raised in an era where you just trust the doctor. Whatever the doctor says, that's what you're going to do. And they're there for your best interests. But it's come to my attention that the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies are not always there for your best interests.
Yeah.
And so I contracted this disease called Colostrum difficile. It's called C. diff for short. I was fortunate to contract an antibiotic resistant version of it, so they couldn't treat it. Wow. So in my first month, I lost 47 pounds in 30 days.
What? Crikey, that's like Stephen King's Thinner.
Yeah, I was like a different person. I looked like what's the movie? The
Gollum.
Machine.
Oh, the Machinist. Yeah.
I was close to that, but Golem would be a good Smeagol or Golem, whatever you want to call him, would be a good character to describe me as well. Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. I mean, I was skinny. Yeah. I was shitting blood. I could barely walk up the stairs. Tom, you'll appreciate this. There was a day I tried to empty the dishwasher and I felt like I was in the middle of a 2K row for time. And it was at that moment I realized, like, I'm in real trouble here. Wow. Doctors prescribed an antibiotic that didn't work. They prescribed another antibiotic that didn't work. Then they prescribed an antibiotic, which was the one that was supposed to really work. And then I asked them, why didn't you just prescribe this to me first? Because they go up the chain, because they want you to take as many antibiotics as possible, because this just fuels funding.
Bobby, what exactly was the disease? It is a bacterial disease that was in your stomach, or where is it?
Yeah, it was in my stomach. So it's similar to, like, call it E. coli, for lack of a better term, but an overgrowth of the bacteria in your stomach. Wow. And so this overgrew and it couldn't get treated. Finally, I got approved for an experiment in which they did something called a fecal matter transplant. And that's where they inject somebody else's feces into you. Now, some of the states in the United States are okay with this, and some of them are not. The reason, if you want to look at the root cause of it, that companies or doctors are not in favor of this, because it's not a pill and it's not something that pharmaceutical companies can make money off of. So it's a really hard treatment to get, but it clears up Colostrum difficile almost 100% of the time. So after 5 months of suffering, 6 weeks of barely being able to get out of bed, shitting blood, losing all kinds of weight, I finally got this treatment and I was quote unquote healed. But I was still having all kinds of problems. And so I went to a doctor. They did a colonoscopy, and they did the scope. I can't remember what the word for it now, but when they go down your throat. So there's
a gastroscopy, or
gastroscopy. So.
Yeah.
And so I had all kinds of ulcers in my intestines, and the doctor said I had ulcerative colitis. It could never be cured. I couldn't fix it through diet. And I was doomed to live this miserable life where I'd have to get my intestines out, and I was just going to be a mess. And I just wasn't willing to accept that information.
God.
So I had to kind of teach myself about the disease and the after effects. Well, it turns out that after you've had C. diff for a while, your body presents symptoms of ulcerative colitis. And your intestines are scarred. So I had to go through a pretty regimented sleeping, nutrition, and training program to let my body heal from the inside out. And today I'm, 100% healthy.
And
But
you went through Viome, right? You did the whole microbiome
Yeah.
testing thing, which is actually when I first came across Viome, was through your story of it and how I was so amazed by it. And I thought, I got to check these guys out, what they're doing.
Yeah. So here's the deal that people don't understand. There's all these genetic blood tests that you can get that tell you how you're supposed to eat. But there's an interesting fact about the biome that lives in your stomach. Tom, if I came to live with you and your family for a year, we would all have the same biome because we share the same space. And just like you can share bad bacteria like E. coli, you can also share good bacteria. So people that are in close proximity tend to have a very similar biome. The reason I'm telling you that is, and also further to that, pets can affect your biome. What you eat can affect your biome. So even if there's a way for you to eat for your genetics, I can completely 100% alter your biome that lives inside your stomach, your intestines, your small intestines. So the genetic tests are useless because the only way to eat for your body is to eat for your biome. So what Viome does is you do a fecal test through the mail. It comes to your house. You basically take a sample, you send it in, and then based on your personalized results, they give you recommendations on how to eat so you can take charge of your gut health. There's not a lot understood worldwide about gut health because doctors have ignored it, but there is a very strong link between gut health and depression, gut health and intelligence, gut health and happiness, gut health and muscular development. It all starts in the gut. So if you can keep the gut healthy, the presumption is that the rest of your life will be healthy.
And since so how long are we talking? I think it's been about 2 years now, right? Since you did Viome, or like a year and a half.
Yeah, it's been about 18 months.
And how much of a difference has it made to you? Because I know from me and from my son Freddie, and we've talked about this separately, but since I've done it and I did it for my son and my family, we've seen amazing differences in our health and our well-being. And I'm assuming you've, because I've seen your weight grow back. You're like stronger. You look stronger than ever.
Yep.
So how do you feel?
So initially it helped tremendously. And I think the reason it helped is because it gave me a starting point. And so when I got the recommendations back, they give you personalized recommendations on how you should eat. And I followed them to a T. And then over time, I started to reintroduce foods. But because I was paying attention, I started to pay attention to what made me feel good, what made me feel bad. I also started to push boundaries. And so I would go out for dinner and I would have 2 bottles of beer, or I would have bread, or I would have Caesar salad, and I would see how far I could push the envelope. And if I pushed it a little too far, then I might have had a bad couple of days, and then I would go back to normal. And then, so over time, really paying attention, I was able to figure out how much I needed to sleep, because that affects me, how much I could eat, that affects me, and how much I could train. And then I could put it all in balance. So I don't follow the recommendations much anymore because I've got it dialed for me. And it becomes redundant to keep checking a computer screen to figure out how you need to eat.
Yeah.
But it really started me down the road of paying attention, because before that, frankly, even though I was involved in health and wellness, I was the type of person that could eat from a garbage dumpster and still perform at a really high level. I just never needed to pay attention. That doesn't mean I ate poorly. I just never needed to pay attention. And now by paying attention, I can keep myself on track.
Yeah.
How does someone contract C-Fid? Is that right, Bobby?
C. diff.
C. diff. Does that? How does it occur? What brings it on?
So it can be contagious. So it happens in nursing homes a lot, like with elderly people.
Right.
The next way that you can get it is by taking antibiotics. And so when you go to the doctor, if you have an infection, they're going to say, take an antibiotic. Well, the antibiotic doesn't just kill the bad bacteria inside you or the bad infection. It kills the good stuff as well. So if they give you a high-end antibiotic and it wipes out all the good bacteria in your stomach, if you cut all your grass down in your lawn, what's the first thing that grows back? The weeds.
Yeah.
C. diff will proliferate and take over before anything. So after antibiotics, you've got to be really careful and double, triple, quadruple down in your probiotics.
Yeah, and prebiotics as well. There's certain prebiotics, like those fibers, are really important.
Yeah, because this stuff can grow back. Now, there's a third very undervalued, underrated way you can get this. Stress can kill your biome. And a lot of doctors are not willing to admit it because we always want to cause and effect. But you go through a divorce, you get fired from a job, you have a tremendous life issue. Stress can reduce all the good bacteria, and the bad bacteria is what's going to grow
kind of
back.
what's going on with everyone, or a pandemic where everyone's isolating and stressed out about everything.
That's exactly it. Now, here's the other thing. You guys probably have some level of C. diff in your system. It's just held in check by all the good bacteria. So technically you test positive for C. diff when it goes over a certain parts per million, if you will.
Yeah.
And so if you get major league stressed and the good bacteria dies, this stuff can take over.
Yeah.
Crikey. And in terms of probiotics, that area can be a bit sort of vague. I remember
Witchcraft.
Yeah, you know, and you go into a health food shop and they have 15 different versions of a probiotic, and you kind of go, yeah, is this the right one for me? I don't know.
Here's what I've learned.
Go on.
You need a high-end, powerful probiotic. And so they come in a count, if you will. And just as like a quick Google search here, I'm going to get probiotic counts for you.
Thanks for
you
making our show better, man. We should be.
Yeah.
He's prepared.
You've got to be like Joe Rogan's mate and have a little laptop on the go there and be like feeding us information.
He's always doing
seem
it.
more clever.
So when you look at like what, for example, are in probiotics, there are probiotics that have 50 million CFUs of live cultures, or 20 million, or 5 million.
Right.
That's not a lot. Unfortunately, that's what's sold. You can also get probiotics that have 51 billion, 115 billion. And unfortunately, like anything you take, you have to pay to play. So there are high-end probiotics that I take. The one in particular is called VSL3. It's a very powerful one. There's also a company called First Form in the States that put probiotics in their green supplement that's extremely powerful. I think it's 115 billion. But this stuff costs you $60 or $70 a month. It's not inexpensive. If you go to Whole Foods or you go to Amazon and you buy a probiotic that's $10 a month, you might as well not take anything because it's not going to work. And so there's this whole range in the supplement industry where there is some really good stuff. And then there's some really bad stuff. And you as a consumer, you cannot know by just buying it off the shelf. You need to do your research.
Come here, Bobby. Have you heard of these ones on any sort of Amazon style site where you can buy a fecal enema style thing, where you could take the turds of someone that you know and love and is quite healthy, and then essentially enema it up your own bum? We were talking to someone quite recently on the podcast, and they said that these things were available for, you know.
That's a fecal matter transplant. That's what cured me.
Yeah.
I did mine through pill format. So there is some debate what's better, a pill or the enema. Some people say the pill is better because it goes through your entire digestive
The whole tract.
Did you have a nose clip while you were taking it?
No. You don't even know. It's all processed. You are good to go. And if Tom, if you two ever badmouth me, I'll murder you, because we're not in the friendship circle yet. Tom, if because you're in the friendship circle, if you want to tell me I eat shit, you can, and it's a little
yeah. So I say it behind your back, Bobby.
Yeah.
But here's the deal with that. Some people also think the stomach acid kills most of it, so it's hard to know how well it really works. I will tell you, the pill format cured me.
Who recommended that you do that? Was your doctor, or did you discover that on your own?
No, I started discovering it on my own. And then my doctor said there was availability for an experimental trial to get access to this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this fecal stuff is amazing. Like we talk a lot about autism on the Earth Locker, because my son, Freddie, as you know, is autistic. And there's a huge amount of research now going into fecal transplants for autism, and they're having some pretty impressive results. Because they know that autism now is linked to the gut, and certainly in development in infants. So there's some people out there that are doing some amazing experiments with this stuff. And you wonder then, from just like what you've gone through and all these autistic children that are having incredible results, what other conditions that start in the gut could actually have a massive impact.
There's a lot. Now to go back to the enema stuff, though. The enema stuff affects the large intestine mostly and can be equally as effective. The concern I have about ordering some stuff off Amazon is there have been people who have tried to do a homemade solution to this. So Tom, you're sick and you have your wife donate some stool to you, and you inject it, and away you go. You can also take on some very negative traits of somebody's biome too. So the case study is, Tom, you have a friend that's overweight. You get a fecal matter transplant from them, and then all of a sudden you become overweight. And so obesity is affected by the biome. So you don't just want to order some stuff on Amazon. If you're listening to this at home and you're thinking this is the cure to all your problems, you need to go to a medical
don't get an enema from an obese person. That's definitely a wrong turn.
Yeah, because that's interesting. Because if you got a fecal transplant from an obese person and you take on those the obesity tendencies, does that mean a tendency to overeat, or are you saying that you take on almost like
slow down the metabolism?
Metabolism of that person.
Almost like a metabolism type thing. And so what you're supposed to do is go to actual professional where the feces has been purified, removed of all, junk, that it's the right amount of bacteria that you need. And by the way, this is not inexpensive. But if you want to order something on Amazon and try it yourself, you can get very, very sick.
A turkey baster. Yeah.
That's not, you don't want to go the turkey baster route.
Bobby, what I'm interested in, because when I heard your story, obviously I'm very impressed with the fighting. I'm impressed with the personal training, all that stuff, but it's about, the thing I notice most about your brand and who you are is a lot about your mindset. You choosing not to take what the doctors tell you and to go through it and fight through it, I guess seems natural to you, but it's not natural to most people in that situation. What was going through your mind emotionally, and how can you help other people not give up?
I think the biggest thing is, before you're willing to make a life change, you got to be at rock bottom. And for a person like me, who can deadlift over 280 kilos, who can row really fast, who can run fast, who's fought professionally, when you're, how do I word this eloquently, laying naked in a bathtub covered in shit and blood and just wondering if your family's going to find you dead the next day.
Very eloquent.
You start to want to make some different changes. And so the reality in life is you have to take control of your situation. Yeah. And most times control, or the lack of control, is an illusion. You have a lot more control than you think. And so I started to control the aspects of my life that I needed to control in order to look after my health.
Yeah, you
So-
start asking the questions to yourself. I guess you start saying, "What can?" I love that. That's an interesting microphone you got there, Bobby.
Yeah. That's that new it's futuristic
Jack, say
mic.
hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Jack.
My little guy. But I'll actually give you an example with him. And I actually learned this from DJ Khaled. I don't know if you guys follow DJ Khaled, but he brings his son Assad everywhere.
Yeah.
Like he's like, if you want me to come to the Grammys, my son's sitting beside me. You want me to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange? Guess who's coming up with me?
I did that once.
My son.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he will flat out tell people, if my son's not coming, I'm not coming. So deal with it. And so he's got this thing where he gets what he wants when he wants because he loves his kid and loves his family. And so he controls that situation. So with my son, with my first son, who's 11, I was actually a single dad for a while. I brought him on business meetings. And Tom, if you would say to me, you can't bring your son, I'd say, well, we're not going to do business together.
Yeah.
So I learned how to control the situations I could control.
Did you
So
see
now-
Jacinda Ardern, the leader of New Zealand? She went to a big global climate summit not too long ago, and she brought her newborn daughter.
That's right. Yeah, I remember
It
that.
was in a
And that's the
traditional
same thing.
Maori
And she's
slang.
like, too bad. This is what's happening
Yeah.
right now.
And
so-
symbolic of the fact of why they were there. You know, they're like,
Yeah.
for these little fragile leaves here, you know.
and so we don't have to acquiesce to all of society's demands
No.
like we think we do.
Yeah.
And so now I control my sleep. I won't wake up, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I won't stay out later than 10 o'clock. If you don't like it, you don't have to be a part of my life, because that severely limits my ability to be healthy. So if you're willing to take control of those things across the board, you can do well. And it's interesting in this pandemic of COVID, because there would have been employers 3 months ago that said, we don't want our employees to work from home. And now they're figuring out that productivity's gone up, that you don't have to pay lease costs in downtown London, that they can save millions and millions and millions of, I'll use your currency, pounds, by keeping people working at home. And now the companies don't want you to go back to work in an office. They want you to work from home. So, and the other interesting thing is going to be, from a health and wellness perspective, how many people sitting at home right now are going to realize they hated their life, they hated their office, they hated their job, and they don't want to go back because they get to spend more time with their family because they're not in traffic 3 hours a day. I'm going to work from home from now on. And so you can control those things. And so I've just now built my life trying to control everything I can to keep me healthy and happy.
It was like the Second World War. A lot of the women who would otherwise work from home and been homemakers and raised the children and all that stuff went into the factories, and they were making uniforms, munitions, the whole business. They built a bridge in London when the lads were off to war, and it was the only bridge in London ever to come in under budget and on time. Right?
I love it.
And ladies built it. And after the war, they're like, all right, back to normal now, ladies. They're like, no. You can feck off about a job or a social life, or a different community, It's like you couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. Or back in the sink.
I think, to your point, though, about how do you develop that mental toughness, I don't know if you can without going through some kind of trial by fire.
Yeah.
You have to care enough to make a change. And when the penalty is severe enough, or conversely, the reward is lucrative enough, you'll make a change.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no motivation.
They say the same thing spiritually, lads. They say, that spiritual awakening doesn't come to those who are comfortable. Unfortunately for us, it takes great trial by fire, as you put it, Bobby, to kind of... And there's a great guy I like listening to called Eckhart Tolle from Germany, who was just going through bouts of acute depression. He was deeply, deeply, deeply unhappy person, and just he just mentally broke one day and stopped living in the kind of illusory past and future, and just completely, wholly embraced the kind of philosophy of living in the moment and everything that means. But that came as a result of, you know, years of depression and just being unable to exist in that mode, you know.
Pain is an incredible motivator. It's also an incredible inspiration. If you're to look at some of the greatest writers of all time, what do they all have in common? They're tortured souls.
Yeah.
From a place of pain and suffering and misery. Like I would have loved to hang out with Oscar Wilde.
Yeah, but he wrote a lot of his plays in the lap of luxury.
Byron.
Why can't we just stay in the lap of luxury? No, I'm joking.
These were people that were not happy at heart. They've been through a lot, and they're able to produce great art. So out of suffering comes greatness.
Yep.
And so when you're forced to really change your life, you have to change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in a small way, I've been experiencing that with cold showers, Bobby. Over the past year, I've I just in a non torturous way. I haven't been like going from hot to like extreme cold. Just been sort of just very, very gently working my way into the cold through tepid, you know, nicely. But over about a year and a half now at the end, I'll wash myself in very, very cold water for the last sort of 5 to 10 minutes. And when I come out of it, I feel like the fucking Terminator. It's brilliant. And you can feel it strengthening you, you know?
I can't tell you the last time I had a warm shower. Cold as it will get the whole time. Now, there's a mental toughness component to it, but more than that, there's a huge hormonal benefit. It increases your testosterone, your human growth hormone. It can affect you with these things called cold shock proteins. It can help your skin. It can help your immune system. It's tremendous across the board for overall physical health and mental health.
Is that just, Bobby, is that from extreme cold from the get-go? Or can you work into it like me and have my nice warm shower and then get really cold at the end? Does that still have the same benefit?
There's different methods here. So we've got the heat works in similar ways. So a hot sauna will also do tremendous things for your hormonal profile. There's these things called heat shock proteins that are similar to cold shock proteins. It can help. He is very concerned about Lego building right now.
And heat shock proteins, I'm sure.
Yeah. He is very concerned, but a hot sauna can work in ways as well.
Do you do that as part of you as well? Do you do hot and cold?
I do hot and cold. So here's the deal. Hot works, cold works, hot and cold together. That's where the magic is. Have you guys seen the movie Underworld?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Bill Nighy. Bill Nighy was lovely.
And Kate Beckinsale,
A vampire is strong. A lycanthrope, which is a scientific name for a werewolf, is also strong.
Oh yeah.
A vampire werewolf hybrid is it's undefeatable.
Now
it's
you're talking, Tiger King. Yeah.
So hot works, cold works, the combination of hot and cold together intermittently, that's where the secret is.
I did a show in Iceland, and we were shooting in the middle of nowhere, the east coast of Iceland. It was just peppered with fishing villages. It was beautiful. But because there was a giant alumina refinery along the coast, they had built these beautiful state-of-the-art gyms and warm swimming pools outdoor that were there 365. And just for the families of the workers who they had something to do. But while we were there, we got highly, highly addicted to the ice-cold plunge. And then there was 2 hot baths next to the swimming pool. There was like a 35 and a 40. And we'd bounce between the two. And it was like...
That's the best. So since you talked about the pain of going warm, cold, the single best method for contrast showering known to man is 1 minute hot, 1 minute ice cold, 7 rounds. That's a 14-minute shower. The hotter the water, the better. The colder the water.
See the way Bobby's saying it? He's saying it like a challenge. He's making us do it with his face.
I've heard that voice. I've heard that challenge voice. And it sometimes makes me feel like sick. I think, oh God, he's going to put me through something hellish here.
I sense another field trip coming on.
Oh
What
yeah, big time, big time.
What I do at home, and Tom, when you visit, you'll be subjected to this. I have a 200-degree sauna and then go right into the ice cold shower. But I will tell you that ice cold is a relative term, because I am sure the waters in the ocean off Iceland, I'm sure that is colder than the water coming out of the tap in London in the summertime.
Oh man, yeah. Like when I do when I do my cold showers in the winter, like it was because what happened, I came back from LA, right, and it was the showers were not as cold as they were here, obviously, because of the outside temperature of the pipes. I came back to England, and the freaking shower I had when I got home, it was like I was plunged into the biggest pile of ice. It was so cold. Couldn't believe how cold it was.
You see that horrible feeling with your shortness of breath. You're like, I might fall out of the bath.
In Salt Lake City, and I'll give you guys the Celsius degrees so we can all communicate effectively here.
Yeah.
In Salt Lake City in the winter, it's somewhere around 0 degrees Celsius, -5 degrees Celsius. So the water is cold. In the summer, it's plus 35. You cannot have a contrast shower. You need an ice bath. And so depending on the season, I'll change up my method as well. Whereas where I grew up, Tom, in the winter, it's -40.
Yeah.
I'm from Canada, northernmost region. Well, you spent time in Toronto. And,
oh man, we know that cold. Me and Rob know that cold.
So I consider Toronto warm because I'm from the north of Canada. Toronto's like a paradise of warmth. That's what the Vikings call
it. Yeah, it's a real desert island, Toronto, in the middle of January.
So,
where are you from then, Bobby? Where are you from? Are you from Ontario?
I am. I'm from Northern Ontario, way, 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 way north. So if you were to pull up a globe and you were to look at, I think he lives at #1 Santa Claus Way, but the St. Nicholas, the whoever you believe in, I'm about 10 miles south of where.
He's always clattering and banging, making noise. Keep it down over there. Do you know an actor called Kevin Durant? He's from Ontario, and I worked with him years ago in Toronto.
But he's a big dude.
Big dude, 6'10", I think. Big, muscly fella, and he's from a town that's about 20 hours north of Toronto, and I thought maybe it could be the same place.
They're growing big up there, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And he said
they're growing big.
He was the smaller of his brothers, he said.
I just looked him up, and I have actually seen him in many things, and he is from Thunder Bay. I used to live in Thunder Bay. I went to university there.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Small world.
I'd like to have seen it. Yeah, I was surprised you two didn't get picked out for a lineup or something sometime. Because you would.
You and Kevin Durant. Yeah,
Kevin Durant would be a good one to play you in a movie, Bobby.
Yeah,
he is 6'6". He's a monster.
6'6".
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Do you know what? The cold makes us big. My people from the north were actually. I don't know if you guys knew this. Columbus was not the first person to come to the Americas. The Vikings came to the Americas much before that.
Yeah.
So, Tom, I've been telling people I'm actually the last descendant of Leif Erikson, the famed.
You probably are, Bobby.
Explorer and Viking. That's where I get my powers from.
Yeah.
Do you know? Yeah, that would have been around the 9s and the 10s, I suppose. They probably came over because they were.
They actually found there's a place in Newfoundland called L'Anse aux Meadows, and it's a settlement from the 1200s.
Right.
And there is a famous Nordic mythology story about a place called Vinland that was green all year and grapes grew. And everyone thought that it was just some myth. But the theory is that the Vikings came from Denmark and Iceland. They settled in Greenland. And then from Greenland, Nova Scotia. And there's been evidence of them being into the Arctic, into Minnesota, of exploring North America.
Yeah. They were incredibly explorative, weren't they, the Norse? Incredibly explorative.
Yeah.
They ended up as far as, like, even the Cossacks in Russia can be traced back to the Norse, as far as Georgia. It's mental.
So they were able, this was all theory until they unearthed, I believe it was in 1967 or 1969, they unearthed a full Viking settlement in Newfoundland.
Cool.
Wow.
So it was proven that they were the first people to come. But yeah, so I have, if you look at my crystal blue eyes and my overly enormous musculature or my superhuman strength,
Or
believe
your
that
humility.
through my humility, through Viking strength that flows through my veins.
Oh, God bless. Yeah. Iceland is interesting in that respect, actually, because the genetic makeup of Icelandic people is pretty much exactly Scandi and exactly Irish, because the nature of their migration would have been they would have gone to Iceland and then they said, we need to pillage some women. So they went down to Ireland, mostly around the north coast, and they took a bunch of people for slaves and for wives and the whole business, brought them back to Iceland and set up in Reykjavik. And now the DNA is exactly Irish and Norwegian, essentially.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's also, it's an interesting place to study from a genetic standpoint because it's very pure.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of outsiders that immigrate into Iceland, and you don't get a lot of people that leave. And so it's got a very pure genetic population, ideal for testing if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Turn the whole country into a sort of a lab. Turn them into, because there's only about 320,000 of them.
Yeah,
Yep.
Icelanders in the whole world.
The thing is, there must be like because on World's Strongest Man, I don't know if you ever watched World's Strongest Man, but there's so many like Nordics and Finnish, and they're just like big dudes. Icelandics. They like build them big over there.
Isn't the World's Strongest Man currently a geezer from Stoke?
Oh, that's Eddie Hall, who Bobby, in fact, Bobby was the world record holder, right? Bobby was the world record holder for the 100-meter ski erg, fastest time for 100 meters.
Wow.
And I went over to train with Eddie Hall and hang out, and then he smashed my record.
Yeah, so he got the record.
I will tell you.
Wow.
I will tell you this, Tom. There are not many people on this planet that make me feel weak and pathetic.
Yeah, Eddie Hall, man, he's a beast.
He is. I mean, when you say the world's strongest man, it almost doesn't do it justice. He is stronger than you can ever imagine.
Wow.
And this is not even, so you've met him when this is post his strongman, because he's left strongman stuff now and he's just training to stay, in shape and be, still ridiculously superhuman, but not to the level of World's Strongest Man, because he only wanted to do it to prove a point, really, that he could do it. I think it was to his father, right? I think he promised his father on his deathbed that he would become World's Strongest Man. Was it his father or his grandfather?
I don't know that story enough to comment on it.
Someone that was very close to him, and he promised him that he would win World's Strongest Man. So he achieved it, and he was like, right, I've done it now. And it'd be really interesting to get someone like Eddie Hall on, because World's Strongest Man, in terms of athletes, these guys push their bodies way beyond what they're naturally kind of capable of, and push their bodies to, because Eddie said, I saw him in an interview and he was saying, I've stopped it because I've taken years off my life to do this.
Yeah. It's like anything. People, I think it's easy to be at home and criticize other people.
Yeah. But
they don't understand the sacrifices that people make. So I'll give you a good example. In the acting world, people at home you have it so easy. You don't work hard. You don't make sacrifices. You're lucky to go all these premieres. You know what they don't see? 8 months of being away from your family, working 12 hours a day, stress, pressure, not able to train, night shoots. They don't see any of that. They just see the end product and assume that somebody has it easy. But to get to the highest level in the world.
Yeah, nobody sees you when you're sitting in a space wagon at 2:00 in the morning on some cold side road in Northern Ontario. Just sat there waiting for 3 hours to be emotionally vulnerable in front of 40 people.
People don't see that. And at times we get glimpses of it, but they don't see the sacrifices. It's funny with The Rock. Everyone assumes that he's lucky, that he's got good genetics, that he's on steroids. They make all these other excuses for him. They don't realize that he flies a gym with him everywhere he goes. He's up at 4 a.m. in the morning training harder than you've ever trained in your life.
Byron has an official man crush on
I do.
Rock.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson. think he is the dude.
You know what?
Such a
You know
dude.
what? We all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all do.
Hey,
I
you
just
know-
want to be cuddled in his mighty arms.
You actually, Tom and Bobby, you guys mentioned this, and I think it's an interesting thing from people from a health and being a good earthling and showing up and how to be optimized. There are a lot of pitfalls to being overly trained. There, being a professional athlete isn't the healthiest thing. I know, Tom, you have that story as well. I mean, how true is that, and how people digest that?
So what I teach people and what I want people to understand is that health and performance are not synonymous.
Absolutely.
Training for health is very different than training for performance. The minute you train for performance, there are going to be drawbacks or setbacks or negatives.
Yeah, you have to push your body beyond what it's sort of naturally capable of. You have to go past these pain barriers and force your body into them. And when you're talking about health, that's not optimal. It's suboptimal, because you don't want to be working at that level all the time. I think it's great at certain times to push your body, and I think it's certainly mentally it's great at times to push your body. But you get these people that literally are smashing the hell out of their bodies every day, and they're everyday people. These are not athletes, right? These are just people who want to train that way. And I've done that. I've lived that lifestyle, and it's not sustainable. Eventually, your body says no, thank you, and gives you an injury, and then you're right up shit creek.
Cillian Murphy did a one-man show, yet another one-man show recently called "Grief is the Thing with Feathers," and I met him shortly after it, and he was saying, like, just coming up to the end of the run, because it was so profoundly physical, and because he's a man in his nearly mid-40s now, he said, Rob, my body just went no. No.
Yeah, that's it. That happens. And I think Byron, to your point, the great myth is that, well, working out is better than sitting on a couch all day. Well, yeah, that's true, but sitting on a couch is not healthy either. Yeah. If you want to be healthy, lift light weights with perfect form, do moderate cardiovascular activity, and eat perfectly. That's the way to be healthy. The minute you put your body in a fight or flight state, that your body thinks it's fighting a tiger, it is not healthy. That is performance. So choose wisely. Now, I'm not against performance training. You just have to know that there is a cost.
So, so an adrenalized state, Bobby, does that, like, let's say being on stage or performing in a sporting event, fight or flight causes a sort of adrenaline rush, right? So that is essentially technically pushing the body to an unhealthy space temporarily.
Yeah, it's extreme cortisol and extreme stress onto the body, basically.
Part of it is fundamentally understanding what stress is.
Yeah.
We all look at stress as a negative thing, but there are forms of eustress which are good forms of stress.
Like adrenaline.
Or can come from good sources. Like Tom, getting a huge part in a movie you've always wanted to be in, even though that can be a really happy thing, can be stressful. The stress of having to live up to an expectation, things like that. And so stress isn't good or bad. It's just input into the body. And the more input the body has, the less life it's going to have. And so there are even, you all right? There are
coffee, stressful coffee.
There are numerous studies that say that if you eat less calories your whole life, you'll live longer. Yeah. Because you're giving your body less of a job. So any job you give your body is counted in the stress column.
Yeah.
If you will.
I met this amazing man who was Ukrainian. He was an ex-Olympic weightlifter. And we met in Goa. And we were there running around making an independent film. But we were running around. And this man we met, he basically got up in the morning, yoga, meditation, jogging, had some green tea and some warm milk, and occasionally a bit of tomato, he said, just to settle his stomach. And that was it. That's all he'd eaten for about 3 months. All he'd taken in. And he was fucking hench. He was really built.
It's one of the reasons I don't do it, because I love food too much. But it's one of the reasons why fasting can help you do a tremendous reset. because you're giving your body less of a job to do. It's another reason why I don't recommend eating a ton before bed, because then you don't sleep deeply because your body has another job. And so you can look at anything you throw on the body is going to be stress. The more stress you put on the body, it's like the more miles you put on a car. That's long.
Yeah.
That's one of my proclivities, Bobby. I tend to eat before bed. I get terrible. I get shocking hungry in the night.
Me too, but it's probably not the greatest thing. Now listen, this sounds like all doom and gloom and negative. You don't have to avoid everything in life, but you got to pick your battles.
Yeah, that's exactly
and
it.
there's also do you guys know what the first principle of economics is?
Go on, enlighten us.
Go on.
There are hopefully people watching.
There's no such thing as a free lunch. So if you go to because I see your fancy Mac computer, if you go to the Apple store and it's buy one computer, get one free. You didn't get one free. You just bought two computers. Let's get that straight. There's nothing free. No such thing as a free lunch. So when you look at your life, everything has a cost and everyone has to pay that cost. So the more input you put into the system, the more you have to pay for it. So if you want to drink alcohol, great, but you got to pay for it somehow. That might be extra sleep. It might be a better diet. It might be exercise. When people get in trouble is when they smoke, they drink alcohol, they eat like shit, they don't work out. Well, now you're maxed out your credit cards and you are not taking any money in. And that's when you get yourself in trouble. Now with the COVID thing, that's also true. If a young, healthy person like you, Tom, gets COVID, you will likely be fine. But when you have what's called these other morbidities, that is when you start to get in trouble. So if you're obese, which is a morbidity, and you have syphilis, which is a morbidity, and you
how did you know
COVID? Yeah, it's a terrible thing. You can go blind. And anyway,
and mental, mad completely.
You now have what's called something called trimorbidity, which means you're probably going to die from the COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
well, it's if your body's already trying to survive, it's already being put through that stress level to actually just keep itself alive. Yeah. And you throw something like COVID-19 in there, it ain't gonna be able to cope. Can't do it.
So I'm actually curious about you guys if you've experienced this. You're on set, you're working 12 hours a day, you're not sleeping, you're in cold weather, and you have a bad week of drinking and eating, and you're not training and looking after yourself. You almost always get sick because that's when you're at your most vulnerable. If that makes sense. So if you look back to any time you've been ill, you've probably done something in the preceding weeks. Yeah. That's put you at a disadvantaged state and that you've contracted the illness.
Yeah. What's the saying I hear a lot is it's a disease in old age is a death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
It's never just one thing.
Nope. It's one of the reasons, and it's actually really interesting. There was an article in the Business Insider that came out that, do you guys know who Jeff Bezos is?
Yeah. Yeah. So he's the founder of Amazon, right?
I'm going to put you in this into perspective, into how much money he's made and how successful he is. If you paid him $2,000 an hour since the moment a widely known figure known as Jesus Christ was born, you still would not have enough money to pay Jeff Bezos for what he's worth right now. Think about that, Tom.
Is that what Jesus is?
That is, it's made me feel a little bit sick, that, I think.
So that's how successful he is. He makes sure he gets 8 hours sleep a night and will not make decisions past noon.
He won't make decisions past noon. I love that.
Because he says his brain function decreases. So he is, we're talking a guy that's at the top level in the world. He is taking those kind.
I wonder if he
knows his limits. Yeah, he listens to it.
I wonder if he built Amazon.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah, he probably did. He probably did. I love that. I go, Jeff, the stock is plummeting. It's 12:01. He's like, nope, not till tomorrow. Like, please, there's people run out of wheelbarrows of stocks. Nope. Brain switched off.
But that's not the point. The point is is that he's realized where he's most valuable right now is in critical decision making capacities. And that's where he needs to be at his best. So I'm going to tell you how I'm going to relate that to life. Do you know, Tom, how you're going to be a better father to Freddie?
How's that?
8 hours sleep a night.
Yeah.
Eating a proper diet, working out and being healthy, because then you've looked after your self-care needs to give your best to that little boy.
Interestingly enough, that was the biggest impetus for me to take on a huge lifestyle change, was because I wanted to be around and be the best version of me for as long as I could be for my kids. I think kids are an amazing motivator. If you're a certain kind of person, kids will make or break your own life in the path that you're on. Yeah. You can either be someone who's gonna like be 100% there, and to be 100% there, you have to be the best version of you. You have to give everything, and everyone's different. Everyone's going to have different things they're going to need to do that. But you also have a decision where you could go the other way and just not give them everything. But then what kind of example are you setting for your child? Well, how can you be the best dad?
No, for sure. But I can extend that to any line of work. When you watch your movie or your favorite show, how much better could it have been if the actors were getting 8 to 9 hours sleep a night, if they were taken care of, if their health needs, how much does that affect your ability to perform? And my guess is it's quite substantial, because if you're run down and you're stressed and you're exhausted.
Well, it's also a number of things. It's also like your mood. It's also the social aspects on set and stuff, because it can really affect the energy on a set is generally dictated by the actors, right? So if the actors are coming in tired, they'll kind of set the mood of the set. If it's a playful mood, then the whole crew are in a playful mood, and then the work is better because everyone's doing their best work when they're relaxed.
Yeah. And also maybe throw meditation into that mix, because
absolutely,
watching your favorite movie or favorite show, your ability to enjoy your favorite thing, I think, increases, because you're expanding your consciousness.
I'm going to tell you, if I'm going to produce a movie, I want everyone from the actors to the grips to the person working at the craft truck serving food. I want them healthy. I want them happy. I want them well motivated. I want them stress-free, because that out of that is that's going to give birth to magic.
I tell you,
if everyone's stressed and unhappy and there's a negative culture, you're going to produce a bad product.
You make a good showrunner, Bobby.
Yeah, and do you know what, Bobby? You'd be scandalized at our crafts table. I'll tell you one thing. It's like 80% sweets and shit.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
don't go near that
platters
crap.
of all M&Ms and bollocks. You know, but there's nice stuff too. But it's a lot of sweets.
Yeah, people can do amazing work when they're healthy and happy, and I'm a believer in that in areas of life, all areas of sport. Keep people healthy and happy. And this is what I learned through my sickness. Look after that, because then I can be the best version of Bobby Maximus that I can be. If I'm underslept, I can't give you guys my best today. If I'm stressed, I can't give you guys my best today. So it's important that I'm always on.
Did you see Real Madrid, the soccer team, were advising their players to essentially snooze their way to victory? They were doing like 8, 9 to 10 hours a night of sleep, and then they'd have a sleep during the day between training. Like, 1 or 2 hours kip in the afternoon.
Yeah, Alex Ferguson was the first one to bring that in with Manchester United. He introduced naps, and they that was the years that they won the treble.
Is that right?
Yeah, he introduced it to the team.
I followed that religiously, because with Andy Cole and Dwight York. Bobby,
That's right.
This was the Premiership League. Manchester United, they won the English League, and then they won the European League, and they won the Champions League or something.
They won the FA Cup.
Oh, yeah.
They won the Premier League, and then they won the Champions League. Yeah. And it was Alex Ferguson would do all these different bits of research into this into things that no one else was doing. He was always looking for a way to get the edge on other managers and what other managers were doing to get the best out of his players. And he came across this guy that was saying about napping, and how napping can they're giving them the extra sleep, the extra rest, the recovery will give them an edge. Even if it's like 5%, If you look at the statistics of Manchester United, they won so many of their games in that Premier League season in the last 5 minutes, and they were 1-0s, right? So they were able to give that extra 5% that the other team weren't able to give in that final 5 minutes. They were that little bit better. And that's what made the difference over an entire season.
Tom, you never cease to amaze me. You really don't.
Bobby, do you have a mindfulness practice that you do in top of everything you do physically? Are you a meditator? Are you?
You know, I don't believe in standard forms of meditation, because the minute you mention meditation, I think people picture you sitting with your legs crossed, with your hands held a certain way, your eyes closed in the dark. That doesn't have to be the only form of meditation. Meditation can be a walk. It can be playing with your kids. It can be watching your favorite show. So one thing that I actually like to do is, on my way to the gym now, I don't take phone calls. I listen to music and just have time to myself, to enjoy the quiet, to be in the moment, to really allow myself on a daily. It's something simple I do, but daily, to really indulge in something frivolous, if you will, that I can enjoy. One thing I'm doing lately is I'm watching. It's incredible. Have you guys seen Dracula on Netflix?
No.
Oh, the new Dracula. No.
Oh, it is the storytelling, the acting, the script. It is phenomenal. I'm absolutely in love with it. And it's nice to just sit back every day and watch 30 minutes of TV and just enjoy and check out. And by the way, I'm not being critical. I'm not wishing they could have done something better. I am just enjoying it like a 3 or 4-year-old kid could enjoy their favorite cartoon. And it is so refreshing to just love something and take advantage of that. And so that could be your favorite movie. It could be a video game. It could be playing with your kids in the backyard. Whatever gets your mind off the stresses that you have to deal with can be your personal form of meditation.
I must say,
that's really
I'm
important.
working towards having slightly more open hips so that I can kind of sit my arse, knees and thighs and stuff on the floor, only because I've realized that when I've warmed up enough and gotten into that situation where it's a kind of a clumsy lotus position, should we call it, you sort of triangulate your weight across and your arms sit quite nicely down, and you're able to stop thinking completely about your posture. And you know, in Buddhism, they say that posture is meditation, that without perfecting one, you don't perfect the other. And if I sit down at the moment, like, I need proper work on my hips, because if I just sit down and get into that situation kind of haphazardly, I end up with a bit of a twinge on my back after 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So there's something out of whack. But I'm looking forward to the day when I can just sit down and just let my legs flop flat onto the floor, because it just facilitates a deeper form of that enjoyment that you get from watching Dracula, Bobby. You know, or just, you know, a sort of you get, like, I think as well, the other thing, talking about the gut, when you sit and just, you know, whatever, switch your brain off, essentially switch off the thinking part, the kind of egoic part of the mind, you end up interacting with different sources of energy in your body, which is very interesting. And in the, you know, talking about the gut, there's a sort of a sexual explosive energy that you can interact with quite a bit. I'm being dead serious, which you can start to consciously ask to go to different parts of your body and to kind of to move around your body, and you get this extraordinary what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of a sense of a reset, like a bodily reset that doesn't really, you know, we're talking about acquiescence of society, and these things aren't really spoken about in society. But I can tell you, sometimes it feels like when you sit down and get into a proper place just by switching off the thinking, it feels like someone plugs me into a fucking wall socket, because you get seized by this God energy which just flitters and plays around your entire body, And it feels like something outside of your own biology and your own ability. And I think that's kind of building the mind-body connection. And you're right. I think there's a million forms of it. You know, there's a million forms of it.
And I think that's really valid. But what I think is missing from people's lives in the form of meditation is just what I call raw, unadulterated happiness. Yeah. We don't get that a lot as adults. It kind of gets trained out of us. To give you an example of that, because he's been on the podcast, my 3-year-old, little Jax. When I watch him, and you've probably seen this with your kids, Tom, or like the first time Jax realized what was happening on the Lord of the Rings movie, it was magical for him. Like it was really happening, and he had little Lego toys. I actually have a extensive collection. I have every Lego that on Lord of the Rings ever created. So he had the toys, and he was acting, and he was just playing. That is so beneficial to the human spirit, to just enjoy. But as we get older, we're taught to criticize, we're taught to doubt, and we lose the ability to pretend like kids pretend. And so I think that level of root happiness is something that adults need to bring back into their lives. Just pure, unadulterated joy.
Yeah, I can totally vouch that. Like the times that I've played in the garden with the kids and I goof around in the same way that they do. I wrestle with them on the floor. I roll around on the floor. There is something that you get this weird nostalgic moment. You're like, oh, I remember what this was like.
Yeah.
You know, and it's an amazing feeling. And that's another thing about people thinking about, you know, people talk about working out, right? And they think, oh, I've got to work out. I've got to move. I don't want to move. I don't want to get my heart rate up. I don't want to feel like. But if you play around with your freaking kids in the garden and you roll around for like half an hour, you'll be gassed. Because like they want to be thrown around. They want to run around with you. And that's an amazing way to get those endorphins and actually get like some exercise. Yeah. Because people don't realize, you know, they get their kids to just go off and play, you know, go off and play. Go off and play. And it's like jump in with them.
Yeah.
It feels freaking great.
Carl, sorry, Bobby, go on.
The most interesting thing that I took from that, though, Tom, is how people make working out a chore.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a chore. It should be something that you love. Think of phrasing something a little different. You don't have to work out. You get to work out.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to work and be on set. You get to be on set, because I can promise you guys that there was a day you go to work, you're miserable to be on set. You're unhappy. It's a grind. I get it. But 10 years ago, you would have killed for that opportunity. Yeah. For that misery that you're feeling now, you would have felt like the most grateful human being on the planet.
Absolutely,
and so reframing your I guess reframing your experience. I had an experience last week where a woman named Kat Cora was on the podcast. Kat Cora is one of the greatest chefs to ever walk the planet. I am a huge food fan. I love cooking. I'm passionate about it. I fanboy out over the stuff. Yeah, I could talk about how I'm worried about the sound and worried about the questions and worried about the interview sounding good and all this stuff. Do you know how exciting it was for the little kid in me to get to interview her and just get to talk to somebody that's that good at what they do? I had a similar experience when I got to meet Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
you guys understand that they're like the prayers and the vitamins and the Hulkster. This was like my hero growing up. Yeah. So I made sure when I met Hulk Hogan, you better believe I enjoyed every moment of that to the absolute max. And I allowed myself to become a little kid again.
Yeah.
And so as adults, we need that.
Meditation, not to keep harping on about it, but it does, I think, reset you in the sense that your baseline becomes gratitude, because it sort of puts you back in touch with the fact that you have heart and lungs and all these systems going on. And it's sort of, it essentially amplifies your sense of profound gratitude, so that that language that you were referring to, Bobby, doesn't become the language of the painted smile, where you feel one way but you're sort of semantically spinning it another way for yourself. But with, you know, meditation, it's there's a genuine feeling of profound gratitude at the baseline, which makes you excited about more stuff and you know, dreading far less.
Yeah.
So it's
Rob, you seem like a well-educated fellow, so I'm going to give you a reference and hopefully you can tell me where it's from. I always tell people that you always have to check on the portrait in the attic. You know to what I refer.
Do you know what? Not only do I know, right? I just done this book of short stories, and one of the short stories is a riff on that same book. Gray. It's the picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, who's from County Fermanagh in Northern Ireland. God bless.
But the point is, for people that do not know that story, on the outside you can have this seemingly beautiful life and beautiful existence. Yeah. But the portrait in the attic is that's your true self.
Yeah.
And that thing can get left looking worse and worse and worse and worse. So the essential is you can be beautiful on the outside, but just rotten.
Yeah.
On the inside. And so it's that point about nurturing your soul. So I always have to remind myself when I engage in a behavior or I do something or I start complaining, how this is affecting the portrait in the attic.
So yeah, true. That's great.
You're like your own agent. You're like, he will not do this. He will. But that's that's lovely.
You got to look after yourself because it does poison your soul. And I think that the cure for that, again, is that little kid, unadulterated happiness.
Yeah. Carl Jung famously used to take 3 or 4 hours out of his day in the afternoon and then just go and play in the garden. He had loads of toys and sticks, and he'd dig holes on his own. Like he was, you know.
Yeah, but that's so great, isn't it?
Yeah. He understood what you understood, Bobby, is that thing of being a child and the value of being a child.
Just playing, and that can go, you know, I actually find building Legos very therapeutic.
Oh my God, yeah. Legos are great.
Like a pile of nothing and turning it into a creation.
Yeah.
It's you know, one of our favorite things to do is actually we've probably seen the Lord of the Rings movies 80 times each, 90 times each. And we build up the Legos from Lord of the Rings while we watch it, and it's just tremendously satisfying. There's just something.
You'll be amazed. Your friend Jeff Bezos is making the series of Lord of the Rings. You can look forward to that next year.
You don't even know how excited I am about this. Yeah. But I also I caught myself going down a critical road with it. Mm-hmm. Like Ian McClellan better be Gandalf. Like there's just and then I started going down that road, but I've cleared my slate. And I just want to accept the greatness.
Yeah, I would say, Bobby, best to clear the slate. I'd say probably for your own joy.
You know what I mean, though? Because we can get wrapped up in stuff too. And with movies and TV, it's actually a big it's an issue I have with people when they say something sucks or they're super critical about it. Yeah. Can you not just enjoy it? For the sake of enjoying. You know what I mean, Tom? Like the other thing is people come up with these lists of films, like what are your 100 top films of all time?
Yeah.
And they try to pick these films that are artistic and you really gotta think about, and they're, you know what movie I just love? Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Oh my God. Yeah. What an absolute trip that movie is.
So you'd like to see Ian McKellen in a fist fight with Patrick Swayze.
There's your movie.
What about the movies? Like, you know what movies never get mentioned in the 100 best of all time, but I think are tremendous? The Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah. Like, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, those feel-good, amazing movies that are just brilliant.
I just think they're so enjoyable, and everyone wants to put something on a pedestal. No, I just want to have a couple of hours a day where I can check out and be entertained.
Yeah. I never forget a time that like we went to see Meet the Fockers, right? A bunch of me and my mates, and we all loved the first one, like Meet the Parents, right? And I stood up from the end of Meet the Fockers, and I was like, "Fuck, that was really fun. That was really good." And then. And we literally not even walked out of the cinema room yet. And my mate went, Yeah, it wasn't as good as the first. I thought they missed a few tricks there, and I was like, well, hold on, can't we just like enjoy what it was for a minute before like analyzing the hell out of comedy?
No one was trying to win an Academy Award with that series.
Exactly.
Same with Dumb and Dumber 2. Really, when they came back, when Jim and Jeff came back to reprise their roles, you know, the film certainly wasn't a masterpiece, but it was just the two of them dicking around for an hour and a half. It was brilliant.
It's really about just enjoyment. You know what I mean? And so we've got this memory. The other ones that I've been learning about, because I'm introducing my kids to all this stuff. We watch The Karate Kid together. We watch Gremlins together. We watch like just these old movies that I grew up with. And it doesn't have to have this great special effects and cinematography. Can't I just, and actually, because it's been in the news lately, Star Wars fans lost their minds over the last Star Wars episode. People lost their minds over the last Game of Thrones episode. Can't you just sit and enjoy it? You know what I mean? Can't you just sit and watch it?
But perhaps, Bobby, maybe they can't, though. I mean, maybe there's someone who just goes, I find this wearisome and boring and the acting is flat and they're not really moving me emotionally. I'm going to switch over now to watch You've Been Framed.
Then I have some advice for you. Shut up about it.
Don't kill my buzz, is what he's saying. Don't kill my buzz. I'm enjoying it.
Don't let it ruin your day. Don't let it affect your life. If you don't like it, stop complaining and turn it.
Switch on. Yeah.
Hey, you know what I mean? Like if it was that bad, why did you watch all 3 hours?
Yeah.
Like just there's also this theory.
Couldn't be arse exercising, innit?
There's also this interesting theory about stuff like that. That the reason why the last episode of Game of Thrones was doomed to fail, no matter what they wrote, because people just don't want it to end. The minute you say it's ending, people have a weird expectation on how it's supposed to end. And then they're going to have a negative experience with it.
And a lot of the time with big American television, certainly there is an apocalyptic element to the climax, you know, and Umbrella Academy is no exception to this rule.
Sock puppet kiss.
It's like
go on, Jax. Go on, son.
It's like Mankind, the wrestler.
So Tom, I'm about to tell you, he has been watching WWE.
Oh, so is he doing The Rock? Or who was the talk to the puppet?
He is giving me what he calls Mr. Socko. I'll tell you guys what else is fun. When you're sleeping at 3 a.m. and you get a dirty sock shoved in your mouth with this tyrant, this 3-year-old yelling,
Try a sock puppet you. That sock needs some googly eyes.
Yeah, hey buddy. So this is my. You love it, huh? This is my special little guy here.
Always.
The life of you know what's interesting about this too? The adjustment people have had during COVID to working from home.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean? I'm fine with it because I love my kids. And kids with me, they're welcome at my gym. They're welcome at my business meetings. They're welcome every part in my life. But it's funny the parents that are melting down over having to spend time with their children.
Yeah.
Imagine how miserable that would be.
It's tricky because, you know, I was at the park the other day, last week, and there was a lady who clearly had some quite high-flying job, but she had 2 or 3 kids with her, and they were running around and they were kind of kicking up a bit of a fuss. But she's kind of still working, you know, she's still on the phone portal, and she's still connected to that world. So it was like they were kind of occupying the same space, but not really interacting, like sort of subatomic particles, you know. So a lot of people are caught between a sort of an odd middle place, aren't they?
Yeah, between two worlds, absolutely.
But this goes back to the root of all health is embedded in happiness. Yeah. So you're at home, you're complaining that you're stuck with your family. You're complaining that you're miserable. You're complaining you're stressed out because you have to look after your kids. When you're sent back to work, rather than be grateful for going back to work, you're going to complain that you have to go back to work. Yeah. And then within 3 weeks of being in the workplace, you're going to complain that you're not with your family. So people are caught in this perpetual cycle of unhappiness and it poisons your health and wellness.
Alan Watts said, Alan Watts famously said, "How do you tell a man who's hungry that it's his feeling of hunger that's preventing him from food?" You know,
Buddhist sayings.
just that the fact that, you know, he's manifesting, oh God, I'm starving. He's manifesting as a negative reality, which is essentially preventing him from having a lovely, nice, happy paradise.
Yeah, and that's how people are, unfortunately. So just be happy with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and that's what poisons your soul. So, you know, we started talking about gut health. Gut health is affected by your happiness and your stress levels.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Everyone's looking for a pill.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for all these. That's great, buddy. He's been watching this fabulous cartoon called Lego Chima lately, and we've got all the Legos now, and so he's on another planet. But but that happiness, if you are unhappy and stressed, Tom, your life will fall apart piece by piece.
Absolutely.
Your marriage will fall apart. Your relationship with your kids will fall apart. Freddie's condition will worsen. Your acting career will plummet. On the other hand, if you're happy, all of those things will prosper and grow. Mm-hmm. So if you can look after your happiness first, everything else, we've talked about diet, we talked about exercise, great, do all that. But first, make yourself happy. Then do all that, and it will be that much better.
Yep.
Great
what a
takeaway,
lovely
man.
thought to round things up with, I think.
Yeah, great takeaway.
Absolutely.
You know,
Bobby, what a ledge.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been such a great chat. Some incredible, enlightening conversation.
Yeah.
Like you put things in a great way. Some brilliant analogies, and I'm hoping listeners have taken a lot away from that.
Hey, by the way, Bobby, really quick, what did Eddie Hall's, what record of yours did he smash? Tell us.
It was the 100-meter ski erg. I'd held it at 14.1 seconds. And he did it in 13 flat. It wasn't even close. What's
a ski erg? I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
It's like a vertical rower. So if you imagine a rowing machine.
Oh, yeah.
And then turn it so it's vertical.
Right.
And then you have like these two cables instead of one cable that pulls the vent. And it's used for is it biathletes, is it, Bobby? The for training biathletes. You know who the guys who long distance skiing, you know?
Oh yes.
It was invented with a use of some type of application for Nordic skiing, but now it's been picked up as a functional exercise.
Yeah, I've got one in my garage, man, and it is brutal. You can really
now on that note, you said it's brutal. Do you know how many people right now stuck at home with COVID without access to any kit?
Yeah, I know, man.
For that ski erg,
my God,
it's the same kind of thing, and so, Rob, you were talking for a minute, but with the gratitude and everything, whenever I get full of myself, whenever I feel like I'm egotistical, whenever I feel down, whenever I feel depressed, whenever I need balance, I remember being a kid from a town of 1,800 people whose dad, my dad was my best friend, whose dad had just died, and feeling fucking lost. And it puts everything back in perspective. I am so lucky to be where I am. I consider it an honor that I can be on your podcast. The fact that 3 people want to talk to me and spend time with me, I should be thrilled about that. And so every day I just put myself back in to when I was at my worst place. And man, life is pretty damn good. You know what I mean?
Yes,
everything that's happening, life is pretty damn good.
Absolutely.
And that's the key. This is what all the fuss was about, you guys.
Look.
I like it.
Is that it?
I like it. All right, Bobby, here's a question, because you obviously like fantasy.
Yes.
What fantasy character do you identify the most with?
Jeez, that's a hard one.
Well, he's super into it. I can tell. All his references, everything he likes.
Yeah.
I'm going to see here. You know, I'm probably going to side with Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Here's a good bit of trivia. There was an Irish actor called Stuart who was playing that role. He was down there for 2 months doing the
Stuart
part.
Townsend, right?
Yeah, and then they had to sack him. They had to fire him and get Viggo Mortensen in.
You know, that was I don't want to speak illy of Stuart, but Viggo,
well, we're off the record now.
Viggo is Aragorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed it. He killed it.
And the reason I think I identify with that is because there's something about that I struggled with early in my career, and I think a lot of people struggle with it, is a refusal to accept your greatness. To a certain degree, you have to allow yourself to be successful, and people are scared of that success. And so I think one of the most underrated parts of that narrative and that story, and it comes through in the books, is his reluctance to accept his destiny, if you will.
Yeah.
How he was a ranger in the north, hiding in the shadows, did not want anything to do with the throne. And I think that if people are going to be great, they have to really believe in their ability first. I wish the movies would have explored more of the reasons why he didn't want the throne, and the confidence issues and the insecurity issues and the stuff that was driving that. I think that would have been a really good character development to put in. And so that's why I side with that, because I think that for a long time, especially with my fighting career, I was scared of success to a degree. Like I couldn't picture myself as the best fighter in the world. And I think that really held back my career. By the way, he is destined to be some kind of singer or something. He's got to settle on him. But I think that I could never picture myself as a winner or picture myself in that role, so I shied away from it.
Yeah,
and
I had that for years as well. Years.
Yeah.
I used to get auditions through, and it might be some sort of big Hollywood movie. Usually something, if it was something spectacle laden and expensive, I go, this ain't. They're not going to cast me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was just the
I think we're
baseline
guilty of that
belief.
for sure. Yeah.
And
you
it
almost-
took years to get over it.
Yeah, you almost sabotage yourself from it. And
Yeah.
so you have to see yourself on the podium before you get on the podium. And there is that portion that you just have to accept it. And I think, by the way, by greatness, I don't mean anything vain or narcissistic or anything, because I think everyone is great at something. But you have to be willing to just acquiesce to that. And a lot of people shy away from it. So I feel like he's a really pivotal character.
Like it. Thanks.
I done a movie with all of them, and I can send this podcast and your thoughts down to Peter Jackson if you want.
I like it. I would freak out if I think if Bilbo Baggins walked through the door, have a meltdown.
Here, absolutely.
Here to that.
Nice one. Well, thanks very much, Bobby. It's been a joy. It's also been a joy sort of having a window into your world and seeing your little son running around with a sock puppet. It's brilliant.
I appreciate it. I have one request before you guys go.
Go on then.
Rob, you used a word earlier in the podcast that I actually quite like and I've taken to. From now on, you three shall forever refer to me as Hench.
Hench.
He is Hench. I can vouch for that.
I enjoy that term.
His royal henchness.
He's proper hench.
Yeah. So when you guys put the podcast out, it would be nice to. I like
That'll
that.
be the title.
His royal henchness.
Bobby Maximus.
That would make me happy.
All right, you got it, Bobby.
Amazing, man. Thank you for your time. Big blessings
Big
to you
love,
and
Bobby.
your family.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully people can learn from this.
Yeah, man.
How to make themselves
I'm
happy.
sure they will.
They will.
Sure they will.
All right, brother.
All right, Bobby. Take
All the
care, man.
best.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right,
Much
thank
love,
you guys
man.
so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Earth Locker.
This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts and guests of the show, not the parent or affiliate companies of the Earthlocker. All content on this podcast is solely owned and copyrights reserved by the Earthlocker. The content here should not be taken as medical, financial, psychological, spiritual, or even public transport advice. The show is for informational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Talk to your financial advisor and take anything we say with a pinch of Himalayan pink salt. Talk to your financial advisor, especially if you wish to invest in this podcast. Speak with your elders about personal and spiritual matters because, let's face it, they know the shit because they've lived through it. The contents of this podcast might have settled during transport and batteries are not included.